On May 25th, 2020, George Floyd died after Officer Derek Chauvin knelt on his neck for 8 minutes and 46 seconds. 8 minutes and 46 seconds.
When I first saw the George Floyd video, I just thought, here we go again. I don't want to say I'm numb to news like this, I've just come to accept it.
I had a job interview, so I was dressed nicely, wearing a suit, looking good. I get pulled over, my heart starts pounding through my chest.
My brother was driving the car. The cops pulled up on us and really shook me up. He asked for my ID, which was weird because I was the passenger. I asked him, what did we get stopped for? He never said.
1, 2, 3. That's how many times strangers have called the cops on my son at the mere sight of him in the less than 2 years that he's been away at college.
What the cop did was wrong. It was murder. He deserves to go to jail. But the rioting and looting, there's no excuse for that.
It used to be almost like folklore. You'd hear about it but didn't see it, but now it's everywhere. I grew up hearing it. My daughter is growing up seeing it.
At approximately 1 minute in, George Floyd says, "I can't breathe," for the first time.
People lie to the police all the time. They lie about who they are. They lie about not having drugs or weapons on them. And they lie about not being able to breathe.
A phrase he would use 16 times.
Arguing with people on social media is my jam, and my family gives me plenty of opportunity.
At 1 minute and 25 seconds, a bystander says, "You've got him down, let him breathe."
I guess because I asked him what he stopped us for, that pissed him off.
The cop approached, his hand on his gun.
When you're taught first aid, you're taught that if someone can speak, they can breathe.
At around 2 minutes in, he calls for his mama.
I can't adequately express how much this reality unnerves me. Ahmaud Arbery, Botam Jean, Philandro Castile, Freddie Gray, Tremere Rice, Eric Gardner, Oscar Grant, Michael Brown Jr., Trayvon Martin.
At 2 minutes and 20 seconds, he says his neck hurts.
Ronald Madison, James B. Brissett Jr. The list of black sons slaughtered on the altar of entrenched racism goes on and on. My son, who stands more than 6 feet tall, distinctly mellow in voice and demeanor, with a face of lingering adolescence, masked by a goatee that barely shadows his chin.
At 2:40, a bystander points out that George Floyd's nose is bleeding.
I witnessed this man-child blossom from the toddler who first revealed his knack for the creative with the uncanny likeness of Spider-Man via What's Possible with Crayola, to the animated boy who took his Apple iPod Nano and created one-man short films, complete with settings and soundtracks and costuming, to the insightful teenager who could freestyle rap lyrics at the drop of a beat, who came out of high school with a 3.5 grade point average and tens of thousands of dollars in scholarship offers. But what is any of this against a world so convinced that men like him?
A bystander reminds the officer that he's dealing with a human being.
Black men are best suited for lockup or an early grave. Timothy Cochran, Jordan Davis, Amadou Diallo, James Byrd, Fran Hampton, Lemuel Penn, Emmett Till, Felix Hall. As a mother of my own perceived threat to the public good, I consider their fate. And I can't help but fall prey to the temptation to wonder, will the young man who came from me escape this carnage? Or will they kill my son too? My only child.
At approximately 4 minutes in, George Floyd speaks for the last time. He says, "I can't breathe."
My aunt on Twitter. Black Lives Matter doesn't do anything to help. They're arming themselves and they're a threat to the police and community.
This isn't about police brutality. It's about criminality. I've read stories about rioters and looters being bussed in and paid by the hour.
Well, if they went back to peaceful protesting like Kaepernick, we wouldn't be in this mess. That was some guy on Facebook who apparently was trying to hook up with me.
At just under 5 minutes, Officer Chauvin pulls out his mace.
I don't usually think about it often, but the fact that I think about it at all just kind of speaks to a bigger issue. I just think it's crazy that the scariest situation that I've ever had with the cops was when we weren't doing anything wrong.
He asked me my license and registration. I can't find my wallet. I must have forgot it. He pulls out his gun. Now he has his gun drawn on me. Now we have a problem, he says. You been smoking weed, he asks? Now weed isn't my thing. I haven't done it since college. It's been over 10 years. He says he smells weed. Then I see another cop car pull up on the scene. They pull me out of the car, put me in handcuffs, and put me down on the ground right in the middle of a busy intersection while I'm wearing my suit.
We still don't know why we were stopped that night. All I know is when I see that red and blue, I don't know what the fuck is about that.
When he finally lets me go, he tells me that he stopped me because I have out-of-state plates. So apparently, driving with out-of-state plates is a crime. I never did make it to that interview.
In '92, during the Rodney King riots, the police lined up with shotguns and riot gear and protected Beverly Hills. Now, they don't do anything.
A blue line isn't a code of silence. If anything, a blue line means that we have to have each other's backs while we're out there on the street. Our lives depend on it. Those two young guys, they were new on the job. You can't blame them. They turned to their training officer for what to do.
When I watched that video, it's almost like I saw that dude's soul leave his body.
To be completely honest, I haven't watched the video. I just couldn't. I just have this rage and anger built up. I know that if I were to watch it, I'd be walking around with this disdain for law enforcement and Caucasian people. And that's not needed or necessary. I know my breaking point.
7 minutes and 25 seconds, EMTs arrive on the scene. They check for his pulse. Chauvin keeps his knee on George Floyd's neck.
They didn't follow procedure. Once they had him secured, they should have sat him up. They should have put him in a car.
I think because it's an election year, the politicians are more into it, but where were you when all those other people were killed? When the elections are over, we've got to keep up with the fight because it's not about people like me anymore, it's about my daughter. My daughter has to grow up in a better world.
After 8 minutes and 46 seconds, Officer Chauvin finally removes his knee from George Floyd's throat.
Only after being prompted by EMT.
He is loaded onto a stretcher, put in the ambulance, and at 9:25 that evening, declared dead.
Maybe one day I'll be able to watch the video.
It's almost like I saw that dude's soul leave his body.
At least now, he's with his mom.